So imagine returning a defective steering wheel to a mechanic, right? Only for them to, I don't know, lock your entire car inside their garage.
Right.
And the only way to drive home is buying a brand new steering wheel at full price. Today, we're looking at how the software industry is doing exactly that, but to your digital life. Welcome back to the deep dive, everyone.
Yeah, it's great to be here.
Before we really get into today's investigation, do me a quick favor. Hit that like button, subscribe, follow the show, and definitely make sure you turn on the notification bell so you never miss what we are uncovering here.
It really does help the show out, and, well, we appreciate it.
We absolutely do. Now, right up front, we have a mandatory, roughly 15-second legal update for you all. We continue to monitor the Martin Stevens v. OpenAI matter, which is still not a lawsuit. We are in a voluntary quiet period requested by Stevens to idle public info. We do not know if any settlement progress is made, but hope they're working toward it. And the dead man switch has not been activated, meaning Stevens is physically and legally safe.
Right. Thank you for that update.
Yeah, of course. All right, so on to our mission for today. We are tracking this massive emerging consumer rights issue that is just spreading across the entire digital economy.
Well, it's everywhere.
Right. People are calling it the refund loop, or sometimes, more descriptively, the roach motel of subscription refund policies.
I love that term.
So accurate. So we have spent the week examining public complaints, regulatory literature, and internal policy documents to figure out exactly what is going on here. Which brings me to a framing question for you, the listener. When you get a refund for a digital service, do you actually get your money back, or are you just buying a ticket to a brand new maze?
Man, it is a phenomenal question. But before we explore the actual mechanics of that maze, I really need to establish some crucial ground rules for this entire discussion.
Okay, lay them out.
Everything we are going to discuss today regarding these companies represents consumer allegations, public complaints, and public policy disclosures. Okay. Nothing we say today constitutes a proven legal violation unless a court or regulator has formally ruled on it. We are discussing patterns that support broader consumer protection concerns, not, definitively declaring criminal conduct.
Got it. Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
What exactly is the refund loop? At its core, the allegation is basically this. A customer is promised a refund, a partial credit, or, some kind of reimbursement for a subscription dispute.
Yeah, standard customer service stuff.
Exactly. But the second that refund is processed, the company immediately revokes access to the paid service. To get back in, to retrieve your data or finish the billing cycle you originally started, you are forced to resubscribe and repay.
Which effectively nullifies the refund entirely.
Right. Like the steering wheel analogy. You haven't actually gained anything. You're just trapped in their garage.
It is a perfect visualization. Because in the regulatory world, critics actually call this an illusory refund.
Illusory refund. I like that.
Yeah. You think you've been made whole, but the reality of the transaction has just been weaponized against you. And this is not a bug. It actually falls under the legal umbrella of dark patterns.
Oh, we've talked about dark patterns before.
Right. Regulators refer to this specific architecture as a roach motel design. The entire system is engineered to be totally frictionless to enter, but purposefully agonizing to exit.
It makes me think of like a digital deadbolt. It's like the system automatically changes the locks on your house, the literal second a check bounces, without giving you any chance to explain or fix it. But how does this actually tie into the contract you sign?
Well, it ties heavily into concepts like negative option billing.
Okay.
In traditional contract law, you have to explicitly agree to a purchase. But a negative option legally flips the burden of action. It interprets your silence or, your failure to jump through a series of complex hoops as your ongoing consent to keep billing you.
Wow, so silence becomes your signature.
Exactly. Combine that with deceptive continuity billing, where the transition from a trial to a paid plan is intentionally obscured, and you have a system specifically designed to generate accidental charges.
Right, I've fallen for that.
Most people have. So when a consumer finally notices and demands a refund, the company triggers this forced resubscription trap. They make seeking that refund so incredibly painful that you simply give up and accept the charge.
And what's really staggering here is that it isn't just a few sketchy fly-by-night apps doing this. This behavior is allegedly built right into the core infrastructure of the biggest tech and media companies on the planet. I mean, they literally wrote the blueprint for this loop.
Oh, absolutely. If we want to understand how this became an industry standard, we have to look at the gatekeepers of the app ecosystems.
Apple and Google.
Right. because they control the payment APIs, they set the behavioral norms.
Yeah, there are just extensive consumer complaints regarding App Store refund disputes that result in immediate, total access termination to third-party apps.
Completely shut out.
And with Google, specifically Google One and Google Play, users report these wildly rigid cancellation structures. If you cancel a subscription, you often can't just hit a button to restart it. You have to go through entirely new subscription flows.
And let's explain why that actually matters to your wallet. If you had a legacy price or a grandfathered plan from 3 years ago, going through a new subscription flow means that legacy price is gone.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, you are now forced to re-enter at the current, usually much higher, market rate.
So the refund actually costs you more money in the long run.
Wow.
We also see similar Better Business Bureau complaints with OpenAI alleging severe refund delays followed by sudden access issues right after a subscription dispute is flagged.
Yeah.
And the Reddit and BBB complaints involving Amazon, specifically Prime, Kindle Unlimited, and Audible are just massive. Users describe these labyrinthine reactivation loops where they get caught bouncing between different payment portals just to regain access to audiobooks or shipping perks they thought they had already sorted out.
And because the tech giants normalized this, it just became the default architecture for the media and gaming ecosystems as well.
Oh, the streaming wars are a perfect example. There are heavily documented complaints about the Disney Plus and Hulu bundles.
Those are notorious.
Yeah. Users allege they get hit with duplicate billing. And when they contact support to get a refund for the duplicate charge, they find themselves unable to regain their bundled access without completely recreating their accounts or signing up for brand new subscriptions.
Which defeats the point of the bundle. And Spotify actually has policies that explicitly remove purchased access or content the literal moment a refund is processed.
Paramount Plus has a trail of complaints regarding free trial billing loops.
Mm-hmm.
Vimeo users complain about having their access completely disabled during account disputes, only to be told they must resubscribe to fix the quote-unquote glitch.
A very convenient glitch.
Right. And it absolutely hits gamers too. Xbox Game Pass and PlayStation Plus both have extensive dispute histories where users report total access revocation after digital subscription purchases or refunds.
It's everywhere.
Now, here's where it gets really interesting, though. Let me play devil's advocate for a second, because I want to push back on this. Couldn't these massive companies just argue, hey, you asked for your money back, we gave it to you, so we took the service back? Is immediate access revocation inherently abusive? Or is it just a very strict, literal interpretation of a transaction? I mean, if I return a sweater to a store, I don't get to wear it home.
That is exactly the argument corporate defense attorneys make. They argue it is a simple binary contract. Ending the payment naturally ends the access.
Makes sense on paper.
On paper, yeah. However, plaintiffs and consumer protection regulators look at the intent of the software design. They argue that intentionally designing a back-end system so that the user has to double pay to restore access creates what is legally called unjust enrichment.
Unjust enrichment, meaning the company is basically profiting unfairly from the friction they themselves created.
Precisely. Let's look at your sweater analogy. If you return a sweater, yes, you give it back. But imagine you rented an apartment for a month.
Okay.
If you have a billing dispute on day 15, the landlord cannot legally lock you out on day 16 without prorating your rent or going through a formal eviction process.
Oh, that's a great point.
Digital services operate differently. If they revoke your access instantly but refuse to prorate the refund for the days you didn't use, or if they force you into a more expensive tier just to recover your personal data, they are defeating the entire purpose of the refund.
Right.
It ceases to be a mechanism of customer service. It essentially becomes a punitive trap to ensure they keep your money.
And because big tech got away with this Roach Motel design became a massive contagion. It has spread to virtually every sector of the digital economy. But I have to ask why. Are developers just malicious, or is there a structural reason this is happening?
It mostly comes down to the structural economics of the SaaS industry. Software as a service.
Okay.
Companies live and die by two metrics, customer acquisition cost, or CAC, and lifetime value, or LTV. They are under immense pressure from investors to prevent churn.
And churn is basically the rate at which customers cancel.
Exactly. So product managers use back-end payment gateways like Stripe or App Store APIs to artificially suppress that churn.
So they use the code itself to make leaving completely
Impossible, yeah. They use what are called webhooks. A webhook is basically an automated message sent from an app when something happens.
like a trigger.
Right. By default, many of these companies set their webhooks to trigger a zero-day downgrade the absolute millisecond a chargeback or refund is processed. Writing custom code to allow a grace period or to prorate a refund takes time and money. It's much cheaper and far more profitable to just let the system ruthlessly lock the user out.
Wow, that makes so much sense. It explains why we see this exact same zero-day downgrade tactic in the health, fitness, and diet industries. Look at Planet Fitness.
Oh, yeah.
They have long-standing complaints about cancellation friction and continued billing allegations. There's a running joke that it's harder to quit the gym than it is to quit a job. But it's not really a joke, it's a webhook.
It is an intentional design choice.
Yeah.
Noom and Weight Watchers both have extensive public complaints around cancellation timing and continued charges, too.
Then there's a platform called Reverse Health, where Better Business Bureau responses actually show that a full refund was issued, but access was immediately revoked. And the dating app world is notorious for this.
Completely.
When you request a refund on Tinder, which is owned by Match Group or eHarmony, users have alleged their access was revoked while a payment or refund dispute was still ongoing. There is a platform called Fitness Singles, where a complaint alleged a user had to entirely resubscribe just to regain access to their own profile.
Which really brings us to the next evolution of this tactic, the data ransom.
Oof. Data ransom.
Yeah, it's one thing to lose access to a dating profile. It is vastly different when these API triggers are applied to the education, career, and B2B sectors, where your actual personal data is held hostage.
Exactly. Students complain about Chegg and recurring billing issues, or Coursera regarding access timing post-cancellation. LinkedIn Premium has a massive trail of complaints regarding trial conversions and billing continuation.
Yeah, it's a huge problem.
There's a service called Resume Coach, where a BBB complaint alleges that canceling early caused access to be revoked with absolutely no refund. But wait, it gets scarier for business owners, right?
Oh, it really does. Let's look at Intuit QuickBooks. Their official support documentation literally says that after you cancel, your data access becomes severely limited. And after 1 year, you must resubscribe, like physically pay them again, just to access your own company's historical financial data.
Imagine losing access to your company's tax history unless you pay a ransom of a new subscription. KidCare, which is also known as Parachute, says expired users must resubscribe to regain access to the childcare data they entered.
Wow.
LQR's policy says QR codes become completely inaccessible until you resubscribe. And Evernote has complaints about subscription restoration issues where people literally can't get to their notes.
And then we have the third variation of this, which is license revocation in the creative and AI sectors. And this is actually where we are seeing concrete regulatory action.
Oh, absolutely. The FTC just sued Adobe over alleged deceptive subscription and cancellation practices. I mean, that is a massive signal from the government.
It is huge. The FTC's lawsuit against Adobe highlights exactly this kind of early termination fee structure and manipulative cancellation flow that holds creative professionals hostage.
And the AI companies are picking up the exact same habits. Midjourney has a BBB complaint alleging paid access was terminated just 2 days into a billing cycle during a refund dispute.
2 days?
Yeah. Higgsfield AI indicated in a BBB response that a charge reversal caused immediate account access revocation. Lightrix, the company behind Facetune, had a complaint alleging their quote-unquote lifetime access was just discontinued, forcing the user to pay again for equivalent access. Runway had a complaint where a prepaid annual subscription was allegedly revoked without clear explanation.
And the underlying architecture across all of these platforms is identical, from X, formerly Twitter, where blocked accounts lose access but still somehow need to cancel separately, to Substack payment problem loops, to Patreon users losing paid access after a creator is removed.
The list is endless. Publishing.com, GitBash3D explicitly making users purchase a new sub to restore service. Even mundane utilities.
Oh yeah, they're not immune.
Experian, TransUnion, Ancestry, SiriusXM, HelloFresh, Squarespace, TidyCal, Pictochart, Techlarify, Publi, Market Masher, they all have explicit terms stating access is immediately revoked upon refund. There's even a dog service called Dogitality with a complaint alleging a cycle where access was revoked, a charge was taken, refunded, and then taken again.
It's wild. If we step back, they're essentially weaponizing inconvenience. The entire system is designed to discourage you, the consumer, from seeking your money back by threatening you with total data loss or the unbelievable headache of recreating your digital life from scratch.
So what does this all mean? If this is happening literally everywhere, from AI image generators to your credit monitoring, is anyone actually doing anything about it?
Well, yes, the legal landscape is finally starting to shift. The FTC has introduced new click-to-cancel initiatives, arguing fundamentally that it should be exactly as easy to cancel a service as it was to sign up for it.
Makes sense.
Right. There are also deceptive trade practices laws at the state level that plaintiffs are starting to utilize.
What about the defense that these companies are just following their own terms of service?
That's where a legal concept called the implied covenant of good faith and fair dealing comes in.
Okay, what does that mean?
Plaintiffs argue that even if a 50-page contract allows a company to technically revoke access, doing so in a way that punishes the consumer for requesting a valid refund violates the basic spirit of fair dealing. But consumers face a massive, almost insurmountable hurdle: forced arbitration clauses.
Ah, the fine print. I like to think of arbitration clauses as digital diplomatic immunity. It's the little clause you click agree on that says you can't sue them in open court,
Yeah.
and you definitely cannot join a class action lawsuit.
Exactly. Arbitration clauses act as an invisible shield for these companies. They prevent aggregate litigation. So if you, the listener, get hit with a bogus $15 charge and they refuse to prorate your refund, you are legally barred from teaming up with a million other users to sue them. You are forced to fight a trillion-dollar tech company completely alone in a closed-door arbitration room. Obviously, you're just going to walk away from the $15.
Which brings us to the Martin Stevens investigation. And again, crucial framing for everyone listening. What we are about to discuss is advocacy rhetoric, a proposed investigation, and activism. These are not proven criminal acts.
Correct. But the methodology Stevens is using is highly disruptive to that exact arbitration shield.
According to his narrative, Stevens is independently investigating what he calls the refund loop economy. He's compiling a nationwide database of companies that allegedly engage in this refund nullification behavior. He is personally purchasing subscriptions, meticulously documenting the cancellation flows, and actively testing the API webhooks to see if refunds are effectively nullified through these forced resubscription traps.
He is essentially running a massive private audit of the digital economy's dark patterns.
And he is organizing this evidence to go on the offensive. I actually want to read a direct mandatory quote from his campaign because it really captures the intensity of this movement. He says, "The illegality is clear. The accountability is next. Every company engaging in refund loop practices is now on notice."
Wow.
Yeah. He also warned that every single company we just named in this deep dive, from Google to Planet Fitness to Midjourney to TidyCal, should consider themselves under scrutiny.
And here's why this specific type of activism matters legally and how it bypasses that digital diplomatic immunity you mentioned earlier. Consumers are bound by arbitration clauses, but state attorneys general are not.
Oh.
Yeah. If an activist like Stevens compiles a rigorous data-backed roadmap of these roach motel designs and hands it directly to regulators and state AGs, it completely circumvents the corporate arbitration shield. It gives the government the exact ammunition it needs to enforce consumer protection statutes on a massive scale.
So it's a way to basically outflank the fine print. It turns your scattered, isolated $15 complaint into a systemic, national consumer rights litigation category.
Precisely. It reframes a million tiny customer service annoyances into one massive antitrust and consumer fraud investigation.
Which brings us back to the big picture. Are we looking at a digital subscription economy that is just fundamentally, structurally abusive? Have we just accepted that we're going to get scammed a little bit every month?
It certainly appears that the architecture is designed to exploit user fatigue. When refunds become entirely performative, when getting your money back costs you your data, your time, and your access, the refund ceases to be a consumer protection. It becomes a mirage.
Yeah.
Regulators are currently miles behind the curve on this, playing catch-up with product managers who iterate their checkout flows every single day to optimize for churn. The refund loop really might be one of the defining consumer rights battles of the AI and subscription era.
It leaves you with a really chilling thought. At the beginning of the show, I asked if getting a refund was just buying a ticket to a new maze. But it's actually much worse than that. Think about it. If all of our photos, our professional networks, our financial tax data, our creative tools, and our health records are locked behind subscriptions that can instantly snap shut the moment we ask for a legitimate refund. Wait, actually, if that happens, do we actually own anything in our lives anymore? Or are we just digital tenants wandering through someone else's maze, living under the constant threat of instant eviction?
It is a really sobering reality, and one we all need to be acutely aware of every single time we click subscribe.
It's definitely something to seriously mull over next time you're reviewing your monthly credit card charges and wondering why it's so hard to just walk away.
Thank you all for joining us on this deep dive. If you found this investigation eye-opening and helpful, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this with anyone you know who is tired of fighting with their subscriptions. We will see you next time.